Hi everyone, I'm Jackie and I'm here to help you pass your US citizenship interview. Today I'll go over the 128 civics questions by group and I'll give you some helpful tips to help you remember them. Are you ready? Let's do it. Important documents. Let's first talk about some of the important documents that this country is built on. First, the Declaration of Independence. The American Revolution had many important events. Name one. The Declaration of Independence. What founding document said the American colonies were free from Britain? The Declaration of Independence. Why is the Declaration of Independence important? It says America is free from British control. It also says all people are created equal. Name two important ideas from the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. Equality and liberty. Liberty means free, so equal and free. Equality and liberty. The words life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are in what founding document? The Declaration of Independence. Many documents influenced the U.S. Constitution. Name one. The Declaration of Independence. When was the Declaration of Independence adopted? July 4th, 1776. And remember, July 4th is our Independence Day. Next, the Constitution. Why were the Federalist Papers important? They helped people understand the U.S. Constitution. What is the supreme law of the land? The U.S. Constitution. What founding document was written in 1787? The U.S. Constitution. The Declaration of Independence was written on July 4th, 1776, and then 11 years later, the Constitution was written in 1787. Name one thing the U.S. Constitution does. Forms the government. So, the Declaration of Independence says America is free from British control and all people are created equal. The Federalist Papers help people understand the U.S. Constitution, and the U.S. Constitution forms the government. The U.S. Constitution starts with the words, "We the people." What does "we the people" mean? Self-government. How are changes made to the U.S. Constitution? Amendments. What does the Bill of Rights protect? The basic rights of Americans. Remember, BR, Bill of Rights, protects the basic rights. BR. There are 4 amendments to the U.S. Constitution about who can vote. Describe one of them. Any citizen can vote. What is the purpose of the 10th Amendment? Powers not given to the federal government belong to the states or to the people. What amendment says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are U.S. citizens? the 14th Amendment. Maybe this will help you remember it. Valentine's Day is on February 14th. 9 months later, babies are born. The President of the United States can serve only 2 terms. Why? The 22nd Amendment. Think 2 terms, 2-2, 22nd Amendment. So just to review, we talked about 3 different amendments. First, we talked about the 10th Amendment, which deals with the powers of the federal government versus the state government. And then the 14th Amendment, which is the Birthright Amendment. And lastly, the 22nd Amendment, which talks about the 2-term limit of the president. What is the name of the national anthem? The Star-Spangled Banner. The nation's first motto was E pluribus unum. What does that mean? We all become one. Branches of government. There are 3 branches of government. Why? Checks and balances. So one part doesn't become too powerful. They all need to be equal. Name the 3 branches of government. Congress, the President, and the courts. CPC. Name one power of the U.S. Congress. Writes laws. What part of the federal government writes laws? The U.S. Congress. What are 2 parts of the U.S. Congress? The Senate and the House of Representatives. Who elects U.S. senators? Citizens from their state. Who does a U.S. senator represent? Citizens of their state. So senators represent states, and both start with an S. Senator, state. Who elects members of the House of Representatives? Citizens in their district. The House of Representatives represent a small area in the state, which is called a district. Who does a member of the House of Representatives represent? Citizens in their district. So for senators, think states. They are elected by and represent citizens of their state. For the House of Representatives, think district. So they are elected by and they represent citizens of their district. Why does each state have 2 senators? Equal representation. Some states have more representatives than other states. Why? Because they have more people. Just to review, there are 2 senators for every state because of equal representation. And for the House of Representatives, it depends on the population. So for example, California has a lot of representatives because they have more people. Why do U.S. representatives serve shorter terms than U.S. senators? To more closely follow public opinion. The President of the United States is in charge of which branch of government? The executive branch. This is kind of like the CEO of the country. The executive branch has many parts. Name one. The president. Who is the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military? The president. Who appoints federal judges? The president. Who vetoes bills? The president. Who signs bills to become laws? The president. So the president can sign bills to become laws, and the president can veto bills. Name one power of the president. Signs bills into law. If the president can no longer serve, who becomes president? The vice president. What does the president's cabinet do? Advises the president. What are two cabinet-level positions? Attorney General and Vice President. It can be AG and VP. Why is the Electoral College important? It decides who is elected president. What does the judicial branch do? Reviews laws. All right, just to review, the three branches of government. So Congress writes the laws, and then the president can sign the bill to become law or veto the bill. And then the judicial branch, which is the courts, reviews the laws. And this is all called checks and balances. What is one part of the judicial branch? The Supreme Court. What is the highest court in the United States? The Supreme Court. How long do Supreme Court justices serve? For life. Supreme Court justices serve for life. Why? To be independent of politics. All right, break time. Feel free to grab a snack or drinks, and you can also break it up into sections if it's too much at once. Also, if you need some help, we do offer live Zoom mock interviews on our website, so make sure to check that out. All right, back to the questions. All right, now let's go over the systems of government. What is the form of government of the United States? Republic. What is the economic system of the United States? Capitalism. What is the rule of law? Everyone must follow the law. Name one power that is only for the federal government. To print paper money. Name one power that is only for the states. To give a driver's license. And that's why every state has its own driver's license. And what amendment gives different powers to the federal government versus the state and the people? The 10th Amendment. Next to discuss is rights and responsibilities. What are 3 rights of everyone living in the United States? Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion. If this helps, you can think of ESR. Every student remembers. Expression, speech, religion. Why is it important to pay federal taxes? It's required by law. This is one of the requirements to file your N-400. It is important for all men ages 18 through 25 to register for the Selective Service. Name one reason why. It's required by law. And again, one of the requirements for some male applicants to file their N-400. How can people become United States citizens? Naturalize. Just like what you're doing now. Name two promises that new citizens make in the Oath of Allegiance. Obey the laws of the United States and be loyal to the United States. What do we show loyalty to when we say the Pledge of Allegiance? The United States. Who can vote in federal elections, run for federal office, and serve on a jury in the United States? US citizens. What is one way Americans can serve their country? Vote. And that's one of the reasons you want to become a US citizen, right? What are two examples of civic participation in the United States? Vote and run for office. All right, now let's talk about current officials. What is the name of the President of the United States now? Donald Trump. What is the name of the Vice President of the United States now? J.D. Vance. What is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives now? Mike Johnson. Remember, the Speaker needs a mic. So the Speaker of the House is Mike Johnson. Who is the Chief Justice of the United States now? John Roberts. So the Speaker of the House of Representatives is Mike Johnson because he uses a mic, and the Chief Justice is John Roberts. Who is one of your state's U.S. senators now? This answer depends on your state. There are two for each state, and you can choose either one of them. Name your U.S. representative. This answer will vary, and it depends on the representative that represents you depending on where you live. There's only one answer. Who is the governor of your state now? This depends on your state, and again, only one answer. Next up are historic figures. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson is famous for many things. Name one. He's the writer of the Declaration of Independence. The Federalist Papers supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. Name one of the writers. James Madison. Another popular answer is Alexander Hamilton. James Madison is famous for many things. Name one. One of the writers of the Federalist Papers. Alexander Hamilton is famous for many things. Name one. One of the writers of the Federalist Papers. So, the Declaration of Independence is Thomas Jefferson. TJ wrote the DI. Federalist Papers are James Madison and Alexander Hamilton. Remember, papers need more than one writer. Benjamin Franklin is famous for many things. Name one. He was a US diplomat. George Washington is famous for many things. Name one. He is the father of our country. Abraham Lincoln is famous for many things. Name one. He freed the slaves. So, Benjamin Franklin is famous for being a US diplomat. He's also on the $100 bill. George Washington is famous for being the father of our country. And Abraham Lincoln is famous for ending the Civil War and freeing the slaves. Name one leader of the women's rights movement in the 1800s. Susan B. Anthony. So Susan wants to be like Anthony, or at least have Anthony's rights. Who was president during the Great Depression and World War II? Franklin Roosevelt. So here's a little trick. We usually refer to him as Franklin D. Roosevelt. So think of the D as the Great Depression. Dwight Eisenhower is famous for many things. Name one. He was a general during World War II. Martin Luther King Jr. is famous for many things. Name one. He fought for civil rights. Next up is geography. What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? Louisiana. And a trick there is think of the French company Louis Vuitton, Louisiana. What is the capital of the United States? Washington, D.C. Where is the Statue of Liberty? New York. There were 13 original states. Name 5. New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So all of the new states plus the 2 Carolinas. Why does the flag have 13 stripes? Because there were 13 original colonies. Why does the flag have 50 stars? Because there are 50 states. What is the capital of your state? This depends on which state you live in. All right, next up is history. Any history buffs out there? The colonists came to America for many reasons. Name one. Freedom. Who lived in America before the Europeans arrived? Native Americans. Name one American Indian tribe in the United States. Crow. Like the bird. What group of people was taken and sold as slaves? Africans. Name one reason why the Americans declared independence from Britain. High taxes. Nobody wants to pay taxes. Name one example of an American innovation. The light bulb. Okay, A more serious topic, wars and events. What war did the Americans fight to win independence from Britain? The American Revolution. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s. The Civil War. Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. The Civil War. What U.S. war ended slavery? The Civil War. What did the Emancipation Proclamation do? It freed the slaves. The Civil War had many important events. Name one. Lincoln was assassinated. When did all men get the right to vote? After the Civil War. So the Civil War ended slavery, and that's why after the war, all men got the right to vote. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1900s. World War I. All right, so the 1800s, think the Civil War, and the 1900s, think World War I or World War II. Why did the United States enter World War I? To support the Allied powers. When did all women get the right to vote? After World War I. And the reason is because women helped in the factories to fight the war. So after World War I, the government decided to give them the right to vote. So to review, all men got the right to vote after the Civil War, and all women got the right to vote after World War I. What was the Great Depression? The longest economic recession in modern history. When did the Great Depression start? The Great Crash in 1929. So think the Great Depression, the Great Crash. Why did the United States enter World War II? To support the Allied powers. So the U.S. entered World War I and World War II for the same reason, to support the Allied powers. Who was the United States' main rival during the Cold War? Russia. Think it's very cold in Russia. During the Cold War, what was one main concern of the United States? Communism. Why did the United States enter the Korean War? To stop the spread of communism. Why did the United States enter the Vietnam War? To stop the spread of communism. So for World War I and II, we entered the war to support the Allied powers. For the Korean War and the Vietnam War, we entered the war to stop the spread of communism. What did the Civil Rights Movement do? Fought to end racial discrimination. And don't confuse the Civil Rights Movement with the Civil War. The Civil War was fought by Lincoln to end slavery. The Civil Rights Movement was by Martin Luther King Jr. to end racial discrimination. Why did the United States enter the Persian Gulf War? To force the Iraqi military from Kuwait. What major event happened on September 11th, 2001 in the United States? Terrorists attacked the United States. Name one U.S. military conflict after the September 11th, 2001 attacks. The war in Iraq. All right, after some of the depressing topics, let's talk about something fun. Holidays. Name 3 national U.S. holidays. New Year's Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day. Which one's your favorite? Mine's Christmas. What is Veterans Day? A holiday to honor people in the U.S. military. What is Memorial Day? A holiday to honor soldiers who died in military service. A memorial is usually for someone who has died, so Memorial Day. What is Independence Day? The country's birthday. Now, who's good at numbers? How many amendments does the U.S. Constitution have? 27. Has anyone seen the old movie 27 Dresses? It's a pretty funny movie. So think of one dress for one amendment. We have 27 amendments. How long is a term for a member of the House of Representatives? 2 years. The President of the United States is elected for how many years? 4 years. How long is a term for a U.S. Senator? 6 years. So think of the order of the alphabet. HPS 246. How many voting members are in the House of Representatives? 435. How many U.S. senators are there? 100. How many senators does each state have? 2. Remember, 2 senators per state because of equal representation. We have 50 states, so a total of 100 senators. How many seats are on the Supreme Court? 9. How many Supreme Court justices are usually needed to decide a case? 5. It needs to be a majority, right? So 5 is a majority of 9. All right, that's a wrap. You're done. Happy studying, and I will see you next time.